Hi everyone. This is what happened to me when I got government housing, part 44. So, following on from what was happening with docs, on the 28th of the 12th, 2016, B turned up at my home and was knocking on the door for about 15 minutes. I stayed inside and didn't answer the door because I was scared of her and scared of the consequences of what would happen if I opened the door. I couldn't believe that she would knock on my door for 15 minutes, and I couldn't believe that she was trying to contact me after I had made a complaint about her. No one from Docs had contacted me to discuss the complaint that I had made against her, and I was terrified of what would happen if she was able to confront me or able to convince people that I was mentally ill. I didn't want to be stuck in the system as a mentally ill person because, in my experience, public servants don't listen to me. Some of them make things up or listen to rumour rather than fact. And I also had the experience that they were downright rude and willing to use verbal violence against me to get their own way. The other issue that I had was that I was going through court trying to get the respondent charged with what he had done to me and trying to get compensation for the violence and property damage that I had suffered. And I feared that if I was labelled mentally ill, that would negatively affect my efforts to get justice in court. On the other hand, I did feel like I needed help. As you're aware, I suffered a breakdown and I was exhausted from fear. So I may have reasonably been diagnosed with nervous exhaustion for all I know. But there was no way that I would allow someone like B to refer me to her version of help. If she was willing to yell at me in front of my daughter, I couldn't imagine what the mental health professionals that they wanted me to see would do to me, and I didn't want to find out. So I was between a rock and a hard place. I suspected that I needed help for my mental health, but I was terrified of entering the system when the public servants in the system treated me like crap and like an inconvenience. So I had to continue to fight off B in the same way that I was fighting off the respondent, and it was killing me. My physical health was deteriorating, and I was basically completely isolated because of my poverty and my circumstances. I wish that my compensation hearing would come up so my daughter and I could go away and we would be safe and happy like we were at the resort that we went to. Because B was knocking on my door for 15 minutes, which was like a form of mental torture, and because I had tried complaining to her supervisor and to the department and they had not responded, I decided to email the Federal Minister for Social Services about the issue and the Department of Human Services complaints. And I marked those emails urgent. At around 3 p.m., I went outside and saw B had left a note on my door, which was very distressing for me. B had actually turned up at my home with a mental health professional and claimed it was extremely important that she meet me and threatened to take legal action against me. By this stage, I was spinning in my head. I thought maybe B was the respondent, but I had seen her and I knew that she wasn't. I wondered how she could still be targeting me when I emailed evidence that I took my daughter to the school to the department. I wondered how not taking my daughter to school, which was the claim that she made, could warrant such a response. How could it be extremely important? If my daughter had cancer and I wasn't taking her to hospital for treatment, and a child protection worker told me it was extremely important that I did, that would be believable. But as far as I was aware, the allegation against me was that I wasn't taking my daughter to school, and I had proved that I was. So, how could it be extremely important that I speak to B? I was just, ironically, I was going crazy because of the way I was being treated by her. Also, threatening to take legal action against me was bizarre. So many things that the respondent did were bizarre, but this was coming from a paid professional and a public servant who claimed to care for the citizens of Victoria. And all she was doing was subjecting me to extreme emotional violence and distress. And this continued despite the evidence that I sent in and despite all my efforts to try to stop her from coming to my home. She kept coming to my home, and I'll talk about that in the upcoming videos.